Hello and welcome back to my channel. This week we're going to be looking at Premiere Pro, and I'm going to be giving you another video in the Premiere Pro course series. This week we're going to be looking at the project panel, and I'm going to be showing you how to organize your project as you start it up. Next week we'll be looking at the timeline, and I'll be showing you how to master the timeline in Premiere Pro. So subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and then you'll be notified of new installments of this course as they're posted. So this week we're looking at how to organize your content for video editing in the timeline. Organization is incredibly important. Having a consistent method of organizing means that you're going to be able to find stuff quickly in your project. It means if you go back to an older project, you're going to know where to look for all of the assets. And by assets, I mean things like the video clips, the soundtrack, still images, music, sound effects, anything like that that you put into your project. You're going to know where they all are, and you're going to be able to move around the project quickly and effectively. And that will save you an enormous amount of time in video editing. Even more importantly, when it comes to archiving your projects off to backup storage, you'll be able to do that without losing any of those assets. If you store some of the assets for your project in obscure folders, or keep images in your pictures folder, or music, sound effects in your music folder, then when you go to archive that project, those assets are going to be missing from it. So by putting everything into one folder structure and having everything in a consistent place, when it comes to archiving your projects, everything is going to be there. None of your assets are going to be missing. You're going to be able to go back in and edit it effectively and easily. Backup is really important. As you build up more and more projects, the space taken up by video files is immense, and you're going to be needing to get those off your computer onto some backup storage. So being able to archive simply, quickly and easily will become vitally important to you. So let's dive into Premiere and see how to organize our projects in the project panel. We're in Premiere Pro, and the area outlined in blue that you can see here is the panel group that contains the project panel. As well as the project panel, this group also contains other panels like the media browser, the marker panel, audio clip mixer and libraries, but we're going to be concentrating just quite simply on the project panel itself. So the project panel is like the Finder on Mac or File Explorer in Windows, and you can see that it has what appears to be a folder structure, although these folders are called bins in Premiere terminology. So each of these bins will hold then a number of items within it. Could be other bins nested within them, or it could be assets in the project. So you can see here that I have a bin called footage. Within that bin I have another nested bin called Osmo Pocket, which contains all the footage that I recorded on my DJI Osmo Pocket on a recent holiday. If you want to create a new bin, or you want to create a Premiere asset to go into one of the other bins, the buttons to do that are at the bottom of the panel. So you can click on New Bin and it will create a bin for you, and you can name it anything that you want, such as sound effects. You can then use that to store any sound effect assets that you may want to have. So I'm just going to take this bin, we don't need it, and I'm going to delete it. I mentioned earlier that the presentation of the project panel is similar to the Finder on Mac or File Explorer on Windows. And whereas it appears like that, it's important to realize that this structure exists only within your Premiere project. It doesn't represent an actual structure on disk. So everything that is contained within these folders are pointers to the files on disk, and if you move them within the project panel, they don't move on disk. They still point to exactly the same disk location. So it's worth just bearing that in mind. So having said that, let's look at some different views that you can apply to the project panel and see which one is the one that you like to work in. Everybody has their own preferences for this. My preference is the list view, and we'll come back to that in a moment. But there are also two other views that are relevant. One is the icon view, in which you can see the various bins represented with folder icons. If we go into one of those, you then go down to the next level. In this case, it's the footage from my Osmo Pocket, and you can see all of the content that's there and get a thumbnail of what's that particular clip. If you move the mouse across it, you can scroll basically through that and get a very quick view of what's in that clip. So that could be useful to you when you're doing some organization initially. And then in addition to that, I'm just going to close down that panel. I'm going to close down the footage panel and just go back to the project panel here. And so having closed down those other panels, let's look and see how Freeform View looks. So I'll go into the footage and look at my clips, and instead of looking at it in icon view, I'm going to move to freeform view. Let me just make this panel full screen by using the tilde key. The advantage of this is that you can move all of your files around. They can overlap each other. They still have this ability for you to scroll through them if you wish to do that. And the reason some people like this is because it allows them to move all the clips into a sequence within the project panel in such a way maybe that you can create your storyboard, or you can split clips into different sections that you want to look at individually. You can basically arrange things as you wish, and you can change the size of these clips if you wish. They don't all have to be exactly the same size, and that's just something that you may or may not want to use. I personally prefer the list view, so if we go back to that, first of all I'm going to press the tilde key again just to bring everything back into the panel, and I'm going to go back to list view, and in fact I'll just go right back up to the top level here and move that into list view. So if you have different bins open in your project group, you can have different views set up for each of them. I'm going to close down these other ones just so that we keep things simple, and we're back to the main project and we're viewing it in list view. Now, just to explain the reason why I particularly like the list view is that you can control the metadata that you see. So looking into the footage that I have here, you can see that I have a number of columns set up, and the ones that I like to use are initially, well, the file name and the folder or bin structure is good to have obviously at the beginning. I like to have scene and description, because here you can divide your clips up into different scenes, and you know therefore where everything related to one particular part of your footage is held. So as well as scene, I like to have description, and maybe make this column a little bit larger. You can make the columns whatever size you want by just simply dragging the column boundary to the right or to the left. And here I put in the description of what's in that so that I can quickly get back to it and find things that I want. Another column of metadata that I like to have is rating, and this allows me to apply a star rating to it. So I can, for example, sort all the clips by rating, in which case I'll get all the best clips sorted to the top and the unrated or rated lower clips moving to the bottom. Getting back to the way we were, then I always like to have frame rate fairly visible here, because you may want to use slow motion on some of your clips, in which case it's better if you have recorded that clip at a high frame rate. If you start to slow down, for example, a 25 frame per second or a 24 frame per second clip, you will find that it's a little bit jumpy. But if you slow down a 50 frame or a 60 frame per second clip, then it will look a lot smoother. Another column which I find very useful is the column called video usage, and this shows you whether you have already used that particular clip in any sequences to date. In this case, you can see that this clip that I'm pointing to now has been used in one sequence, and if you want to find what that is, you just click on the little downward arrow and you'll see that it tells you the sequence name that clip has been used in. The same is true for audio clips. If you have used the audio portion of a clip, it will show up in the audio usage. If you've used the video portion of a clip, it will show up in the video usage. And of course, then we also have the video information, which lets you see the resolution that that clip has been captured in, and that may be useful to you if you're using various different resolutions of clips in your project. So moving along, then there are some other columns that are handy: duration, start, and so on. You can have a column where you can put a comment in that something you may want to remember later. Useful to know the status of your clips just to make sure that everything is online. There are two checkboxes here that you can add. One is you can have a column with a checkbox that says whether the clip is good or not, and that can be used to quickly run through your clips when you're curating your content at the very beginning, just to say what's good and what's not. And then you can select, for example, you can create a search bin that shows only the good clips, which then will not show up anything that you have not marked as being good. Or alternatively, another way of doing a similar thing is that you can hide clips. When you click on this, the clip will disappear from the normal view. You can search for it again and look for all hidden clips and bring them back if you wish. But for now, you can sort of make them not appear and not clutter up your project panel. Just get them out of the way. And finally, if you use proxies, proxies are generally lower resolution, uncompressed files that can be linked to your original content, and it allows you to edit your project faster, particularly if you have a slower computer or a less powerful graphics card. Then the use of proxies can allow you to fairly speedily work through and scrub through your video without any real loss of performance there. And when you output the video, when you render it, it will use the original file, so there's no loss of quality. So it just takes a little bit of extra time to create proxies, and they take up a little bit of extra storage space, but I have other videos on that tell you how to manage that. But for now, we're not using any proxies, so nothing is showing up in that respect. So that seems perhaps a fairly complicated schema of metadata to set up. If you want to go back, if you set up a schema for yourself, and this is how you do it, let me go into footage and just bring back those columns of information. So you can right click on any column and choose metadata display. This allows you to choose the metadata that you want, so you can run through and say which particular pieces of metadata you want to be in your list display, so that you can go back to that easily a future time. You can click on Save Settings and it will allow you to save that particular metadata schema with whatever name you wish. And similarly, if you want to recall an existing one, you can recall it by just picking it from the drop-down list that is in this panel. So once you've set it up the way you want it, you should save it, and then you can go back to it in any future projects. You may feel that that's quite a bit of organization to achieve and to set up for every project, but there is a really simple way of getting started with everything already set up for you, and that is to use a Premiere template. And I have another video that shows you fairly simply how you can do that. With the end result of that is that you can open a new project and have everything set up, including your metadata, all the bins that you want to have for your project assets, and a folder structure on disk that provides a place for you to put all the different components that will make up your video. So I have, as I say, another video that covers that, and I'll link that at the top. And then one other thing that is incredibly useful, and that is that you can set up search bins. Now, I'm going to also have another video on that, but that is a bin where you might, for example, have all of your assets that relate to one particular scene or everything that is at a particular frame rate, and you can show those components only, which allows you to concentrate on those in your editing. So those are two things that you can add to your usage of the project bin: the Premiere template approach and search bins, and I'll cover both of those in other videos which we will link in to this one. So thank you for following through on this tutorial, and I hope you've learned something about the project panel that will be useful to you. Next time we're going to look at mastering the timeline, so we really get into editing your video and creating your production properly. So if you want to be notified when that video is uploaded, then please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell, and then you'll get a notification when we upload mastering the timeline and can get into the thick of editing and producing your video. Thanks and goodbye till the next time. So if you've enjoyed this video and benefited from it, then please subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell and you'll be notified of the new videos as they're uploaded. I'm going to post a new video each week covering Premiere Pro, After Effects, Audition, Photoshop and Lightroom. So if you're interested in learning about these projects, then please subscribe to this channel and hit the bell and get a new video every week.